Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the August 4th Muscatine City Council meeting. Fran, will you please do the roll call?
Councilmembers Raywald.
Present.
Fitzgerald.
Present.
Natfig.
Present.
Salcedo.
Present.
Bynum.
Present.
Harvey.
Present.
Spread.
Present.
All present, Your Honor.
Thank you, Fran. Will you please join me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance Thank you, everyone, for coming tonight. Tonight, we get a special treat. We get to swear in 2 officers. So, if Kimberly and Kenneth would please come up. I think we can go one at a time, Kimberly. How about if you come over here? Raise your right hand. I, Kimberly Halping,
I, Kimberly Halping,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the state of Iowa,
and the state of Iowa,
and that I will faithfully and impartially,
and that I will faithfully and impartially,
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
discharge all the duties of police officer
discharge all the duties of police officer
in the city of Muscatine
in the city of Muscatine,
as now or hereafter required by law.
as now or hereafter required by law.
Thank you so much. Congratulations. Kenneth, raise your right hand. I, Kenneth Voorhees,
I, Kenneth Voorhees,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the constitutions of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the state of Iowa,
and the state of Iowa,
and that I will faithfully and impartially,
that I will faithfully and impartially,
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
discharge all the duties of police officer
discharge all the duties of police officer
in the city of Muscatine, Iowa,
in the city of Muscatine, Iowa,
as now or hereafter required by law.
as now or hereafter required by law.
Congratulations. Excuse me. I need you both to sign. Make it official. This one's Kenneth's. This one's yours. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Kenneth.
Got a bird loose.
Welcome.
Bird on my head. Cuckoo.
Please come around and shake their hands.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. Thank you. Congratulations. She hasn't arrested you yet.
No.
That's 2 times she's had a chance. Well,
Thank you. Welcome. We will move on to the agenda. We're on number 4, communications from citizens. If there's anybody here tonight that would like to speak about something that's not currently on the agenda, please come to the stand. Mr. Clark, please say your name and address.
My name is Dan Clark. I live at 1221 Mulberry Avenue. I want to speak about city communications with the citizens. I have been learning more about communications in the last few months. I've spent a lot of time on the city website, and I appreciate how well organized it is, how generally up to date it is. There are some minutes and agendas I would like to find more current, but that may be up to the people who write those minutes and so on. But I'm very happy with that, and I've spent a lot of time in social media where the city is also engaged these days, trying to understand issues, research the issues, give straight answers to some of the controversies that we have going on, and I commend the city for having a person on staff who represents you out there in those things. I think the city's doing a great job. You know, all of you, 8 of you know that I'm one of the people who's been sending you email about communication and cooperation. I've told you some of my ideas. I'm not going to repeat those, but I do think you all need to figure out how to get along better and work together better. I have attended all of the Coffee with the Mayor events, and that's one of the controversies we have going on. It's one of the things I've tried to understand both sides of an argument. And I would say to everyone, I don't think Coffee with the Mayor hurts anything. We've had some wonderful mayors in the past who've had all kinds of exposure to the public on radio and television, a lot of ways of getting out there. This mayor has been a little different. This mayor has kind of got off to a bad start, or a rocky start. A rocky start that as I've tried to go back and read the record, I find an email from Tom Spread, who's my councilman, back in January saying, I've been on the council a year, I've been reflecting on my service, I think I might want to suggest some changes. We ought to have a talk about that. And my impression is that we haven't really had a talk about that. We got off into some other fights, and now we're in a process that's going to be on the agenda tonight, which I won't address now. But it seems to me that that's a train wreck happening, and we really need to back off, get a little better acquainted, cut each other a little slack. It seems to me this mayor has had a steep learning curve, and this is just my observation, and that maybe it wouldn't hurt for this mayor to have a year, like Tom Spread had a year, to figure some things out, and then maybe once she's been through one full budget cycle and knows the ropes a little better, we could revisit some of this stuff. That's my feeling. I will acknowledge, I just received a very long email from Tom Spread, which I haven't had time to read yet, Tom. I'm going to reflect on it because it's obviously well thought through. It's exactly the sort of thing I've been begging for. Mike Raywald, good guy. I wish I didn't like him as well as I do, but I've got acquainted with Mike Raywald in the course of this stuff. Mike got up, sort of fumbled his way through a PowerPoint, and I say, God bless you all for trying to communicate, however you do it. Your PowerPoint, I'm going to read your emails, and every one of you. I want to be in this conversation, and I think the citizens do too. One of the things I've observed watching on social media is that a lot of people out there who are angry have a lot of misunderstandings or just don't know where to go for good information. And so I'm constantly saying, go to the city website. Guess what? That council meeting is on YouTube. You can go the next morning and watch it and parse it all you want. I hear an impression out there that somehow the mayor is the one we elected. The mayor is the one who represents the people. And I find myself constantly saying, you know what? We represented each of these folks. We have two who are at large who serve all of us. And so here's my last idea, and I'll sit down. The Coffee with the Mayor thing, assuming it can go forward, I would really like to see all of you council members attend. I've been to all of them, so I know who's been there. And I applaud you for that. And I think it would be a neat idea if these events would move around to the different wards, and whoever lives in that ward would kind of play host that time. I know you can't be a quorum there, but you can take turns. Maybe we have one at large each time. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Mr. Clark. We appreciate your comments. Does anyone else have anything they'd like to say that's not about anything on the agenda already tonight? Hearing none, we'll move on to the consent agenda, number 5. The following items are considered to be routine by the City Council and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member so requests it, in which event the item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered in its normal sequence on the agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda, which includes items 6A, items 8A through D, items 12A through D, and tonight's bills totaling $2,518,151.96?
So moved.
Scott?
Second.
Alan,
Second.
would you like to second? Sure. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries with all ayes. Moving down on the agenda to 11A. This is the second reading of an ordinance amending appointment and removal powers in Title I, Chapter 11, Title II, Chapters 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, and 9, and Title 6, Chapter 1, and adding Chapters 11 and 12 to Title 2. Is there a motion to approve the second reading of this ordinance as submitted?
So moved, Your Honor.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Your Honor, I would like to at this time take the motion off the table and table it.
Bob's made a motion to table this. Do we have a second? Hearing none, we'll move on to the original. We have Phil, who made a motion. Do I have a second on Phil's motion? Tom?
Tom did.
I did.
Any discussion?
You don't see anything?
Any discussion from the audience?
Your Honor, I would like to say a couple words.
Okay,
At this time, it seems like there's two sides that need to learn how to accept differences of opinion and to work together in joint pursuit of all solutions to the city of Muscatine so that there'd be a better place to live. It's not happening. There's still a split. Again, that I urge all of the councilmen strongly to consider your actions. To very serious alter the balance of power, which is the root of our democratic form of government. Just remember, the voters are watching, trusting you to do the right thing, and you too will stand for re-election in the future. Thank you, Your Honor.
thank you, Councilman. Please say your name and address.
Good evening, Your Honor. John DeBeat, 2515 Lucas, Muscatine, and as I always say, I'm not strange to this council, nor to standing up and address all of you. I did before, I stood up before, and I talked about the same issue last time. I wasn't able to be here because I had a sick mom in intensive care, but I took my time to watch you guys discussing that when I was next to my mom in intensive care. I watched that on TV. And I felt like it is important for me to be again here and talk to you about something that I did talk about it before. If I may use some sort of analogy, you know, when we meet the person that we feel like we fall in love with, we think we know everything about that person. Then we go and get married to that person, and we find out that we have issues that really we didn't know about that person at all before we got married to. So we give ourselves some time to learn about each other so that we can work together. Otherwise, everybody will end up divorcing the other person that he or she is getting married to. So I heard Councilman Bob talking about this. I heard my good friend Dan Clark talking about this. And I want to stress the same thing. As citizens of Muscatine, we like you to work together. I mentioned that before. Each one of you means a lot to us. Whether we're talking about the mayor, each one of you, the council members, the city administrators, I work with all of you. I cannot stand up and talk in any way about any of you in any bad way. There is something missing. We understand that. There is something missing. There is a problem. Problems happen. It's a normal thing, natural things when people work. As a matter of fact, you should worry if you don't have problems, because it means that you're not working. So when you have a problem, it means you are working. And we expect that. But we as citizens of Muscatine expect you also to work your differences and move forward. Because instead of wasting time trying to deal with this particular problem and forget about the services that you have to offer us as citizens of Muscatine, so now we are in August already, and we're still talking about the same issue. So I would like to stress that fact again, that we like to see you again working together. And as my good friend Dan Clark mentioned here, and Councilman Bob Bynum also mentioned, would like you to consider really having that 1 year perhaps period of time to learn how to work together. And as a result of that, you come back and say, hey, well, you know, we tried, at least we tried, it didn't work, so let's go back to this issue. But you cannot just keep talking every issue that we hear about now as citizen is just this issue. And we voted for you to do your business on our behalf. And if this is taking your time now and forgetting about why you are on the council and so on, that's an issue for us. So please, again, I hope that you will consider what Councilman Bob Bynum offer or propose to table at least this issue, learn how to work together, and see where you will meet, where the strong points are, and work on nourishing those points and then move forward with that. That's all what I can say. You know, I think a lot of us are really frustrated as citizens now, and we tried our best, whether here, coming to talking to you here, or newspapers or anything, but we are still not seeing anything is resolving. Hopefully, this will be the last call for you guys to listen to the citizens and what the citizens are asking you to do. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Yes, I do, Your Honor. I find myself compelled to make a statement simply because I'm the guy who started this process. I made the original motion to direct the city attorney to do the research and make a recommendation. There are a large number, or I shouldn't say, there are a number of people that don't think I've had enough to say to explain my position. I found myself last night responding to a handful of emails. I know those emails were prompted by the mayor's most recent communication, mass mailing. So I found myself writing a fairly lengthy response to an email and realized that it applies to all. Now that went out tonight. Dan mentioned it. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to read it into the record so there's no misunderstanding about what I'm trying to do here and what my feelings in the matter are, so please bear with me. So this is, again, in response to a handful of emails. Thank you for showing an interest in the work we do as members of the City Council. Your concerns are important as the Council makes decisions affecting the welfare of all of the residents of the City of Muscatine. Appointments to the many boards and commissions are to be taken seriously. Decisions made at all levels have an impact on everyone. They can affect the quality of life and the fiscal well-being of our city for decades to come. When I vote to approve an appointment, I have your best interest in mind. To that end, it is important that there be a collaborative effort when considering these matters. Communication is critical. Please review item 9A through J of the July 21st City Council agenda. As I examine the information presented by the mayor, I can say that I know some of the proposed appointees better than others, and some I don't know at all. In my view, the information provided is insufficient to make an informed decision. Let me be clear. The only information that the council has received from the mayor relative to appointments is that attached to the published agenda. I was disappointed to learn that one of the proposed appointees was unaware that his name was on the agenda. That tells me that at least one person was never contacted about his willingness to serve. The proposed nominating committee process would assure that the council has better information to make informed decisions. We need to do better. The sole purpose of the proposed changes in code is to assure that there is a collaborative effort when appointing people to boards and commissions. It does not matter who the incumbent mayor is or might be. The nominating committee process does not exclude the office of the mayor. Rather, it mandates that the mayor, two city council persons, and a member of the affected organization be included in the selection process. The mayor, her supporters, and a local reporter have chosen to frame the discussion as stripping the power of the mayor. In my view, that couldn't be further from the truth. The incumbent mayor, by her words and actions, has made it clear that she intends to follow the letter of the law. She is not obligated nor inclined to collaborate with the city administration, the council, or anyone else when proposing an appointment. I've heard from members of the Library Board, the Art Center Board, MPW Board, Airport Advisory Board, and Civil Service Commission that they would like nothing more than to have a voice in finding prospective appointees. Their input should be valued. To the best of my knowledge, that has not happened. Please bear in mind that the council has approved all but 3 of the mayor's appointees. 14 of 17 recommendations were acted upon favorably at the July 21st meeting. 2 additional appointees could possibly have been approved had the mayor collaborated with the city administration or members of the council. We simply cannot violate gender balance provisions that have been an element of code for many years. There's nothing cited in item 9J of the July 21st agenda that addresses the means to meet gender balance requirements or any alternative thereto. You need to be aware that appointments should have been made prior to July 1, 2016, the beginning of the city's fiscal year. A process that requires collaboration and communication would have assured that all positions would have been filled on a timely basis. As of this writing, 2 positions on the Zoning Board of Adjustments and 1 on the Civil Service Commission remain unfilled. While it may be possible to create a nominating committee and encourage collaboration by amending council rules, we cannot compel any mayor to cooperate without changing code. Our current form of government requires that the city council employ a city administrator and that the traditional powers of the office of the mayor are transferred to the city administrator. Presently, with the exception of the fire and police chief, all city staff is hired by the city administrator. The administrator reviews the performance of all city staff, including the police and fire chiefs. In my view, it only makes sense that the administrator employs both positions with the consent of council. This is a common practice among cities of our size in the state of Iowa. The mayor has made much of her concern that there should be greater diversity among those appointed to boards and commissions. I have reviewed the current roster of appointees and find no basis to say there is a lack of diversity. To my point, 11 of the 17 individuals proposed for appointment at the July 21st meeting were reappointees. If there was an effort to achieve greater diversity, I would expect to see many more new names. I have been willing to devote my time to the city's business as means of making a contribution to the community where my family and I choose to live. I have no greater political ambitions, and I do not base any proposal or vote on the next election cycle. As a matter of law, municipal elections are to be nonpartisan. In my experience, the council and the administrator have done our very best to manage the city in a nonpartisan manner. The matter at hand is not about partisanship or political power, as I consider myself to be independent. To be candid, the overwhelming response from citizens at large is that the council should stay the course. We are doing the right thing. Finally, let's clear up some misconceptions and concerns that the mayor and some of her supporters have offered publicly. 1, no one has been disenfranchised, meaning that to the best of my knowledge, no one has been denied their legal right to vote. If that is the case, the affected person should contact the U.S. District Attorney, as that would be a federal crime. 2, the will of people is not being ignored. The mayor and the city council representatives are duly elected by eligible voters of the city of Muscatine. 3, the mayor is not the chief executive officer of the city of Muscatine. As a matter of law, the mayor's powers are transferred to the city administrator. 4, the mayor does not have a vote on council matters, not even to break a tie. 5, the voting members of the council are solely responsible for the city's business. The city administrator is the one employee that is employed by the council. He or she is responsible for the employment of all city staff. 6, the mayor has apologized to the community at large for the council's failure to approve her appointees. It is not her role to apologize for council action. Those who demand that there be checks and balances should understand that the council is performing in its legal role, in effect, assuring appropriate balance. Much has been said of a need for checks and balances. I respectfully disagree. The system of checks and balances is a construct of the federal government. It contemplates 3 branches of government and 2 political parties. If all parties concerned behaved in a nonpartisan manner, there would be no need for checks and balances. The mayor owes Brandy Olson an apology. Brandy is a local attorney who has volunteered to continue to serve on the Civil Service Commission. The mayor has refused to consider her reappointment without discussion. Please be assured that I will continue to represent the interests of all citizens of Muscatine as I conduct city business. This response in no way represents the collective opinion of the council, and I do not presume to act as their agent. They may wish to respond as they see fit. So that is the content, lengthy content of my email response, and I feel strongly that everybody in the room and everybody out there should know what and why I've taken these positions. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Yeah, I'll make a comment that Tom did mention right at the beginning of the year that he was looking forward to maybe having some changes made in the way the people were appointed to boards and commissions. And as it turned out, we're acting on that right now, and obviously the timing is not good because it's kind of meshed in with some other issues that have come up. I served on boards and commissions for probably a combined 25 or 30 years, and it was my understanding that during that period of time, whichever mayor happened to be elected at that time consulted quite extensively with city staff and other members, existing members of the boards and commissions to gather some names of nominees that he could present to council. And which in a way is an informal extension of what may occur if these changes that are in front of us now take place, which is the formation of a nominating committee that does include the mayor and a couple members of the council and some staff members. So this is I guess you could say it's a formal change over what has been going on informally for as long as I served on boards. So in some ways, this is not a new policy, it just formalizes really what has happened in the past. So I just wanted to put that out, that this hasn't come out of the blue as such, because Tom did mention it at the beginning of the year they'd like to see some changes, and the changes that are coming about I've lived with for the 25 or 30 years, but they were just informally conducted in those years, and now it's proposed to make them formal. So that's all I had to say.
Mayor, I have a brief comment.
Sure, Scott.
I haven't been on boards for that long, Alan, but I've been on boards for 6.5 years now, and I did have an email back in, I want to say early March, to you, talking about that there was some positions open, and I was out of town, but when I saw the agenda, I knew that that board had some ideas for potential new members, and they weren't on there. So my email to you that ended up in the newspaper that just said I would suggest that you at least get the ideas from the existing boards, and then you've got the latitude to do what you with. So I felt like cooperation and collaboration is what we really need to be effective all along. And I don't see this. I see this as actually providing for that. As Alan said, maybe more formally, but I see it providing that cooperation and collaboration.
I just have a couple comments that I wanted to clear up before we move on. After I was elected and I started, before the email that came out from Tom, I had a meeting with the city administrator, at which time he shared with me that they were thinking about changing the way appointments would happen in Muscatine. And I said, who's we? And he explained him and a couple of councilmen. And I said, did this start since I was elected in November? And he said, yes, because we learned of somebody that you were hoping to put up for boards that we didn't approve of. Then all of this came after that. So although I understand the talk and the discussions about maybe this would be a better way, I think this directly was a result of some of the choices that I had made. And yet, in an interest of getting along, of working together, this last whole slate that I put up, only 2 of them did I choose. Christy Corpy with Muscabus, the transportation director, volunteered a person for the transportation committee. I contacted them, talked to them, and put them up on the list. Scott Natvig suggested someone to planning and zoning. I contacted her, set up a meeting, sat and visited with her. She was delightful. I put her up on the list. Alan Harvey sent me a message, please will you put up this one guy? Of course I will. I sat and met with him, had an appointment, talked to him, which is what I do with every appointment, and put him up there. Then I talked to the department heads as much as I could with my limited authority to do that, and got the understanding from each one of them that the people that were eligible for another term were willing to serve. And so I verified that and put them back up for renomination. So out of the 17, only 2 of them did I put up. 1 was approved, 1 was not. Regarding the gender balance, I did speak with city staff about that. City staff is who explained to me what we needed, men or women, and I followed that directive, and I lined up the 2 men. But unbeknownst to me, since I can't communicate directly with staff, I wasn't aware that there was a change. And so one of the women decided to get off of zoning board of adjustment, and one of the men decided to stay on. This came to my attention later after I had already put up the 2 men. So I contacted the department that was in charge of that. I just talked to staff, and they said this would be okay, this would work, with the understanding that they could make this work and the next person coming up would be a woman. This was all handled ahead of time. I would just like to say that I have been willing to work with council all along. I have been willing to share my ideas. I have reached out many times. I have not had the olive branch accepted. That's been troubling. I will continue doing the best that I can and speaking for you as much as I can, and I will not quit communicating with you. I know I have had some frowns about coffee with the mayor, some frowns about me communicating with you directly through mail. That's my job. I work for you. The citizens of Muscatine are the people that elected me. They are the people that I work for. I do not answer to the council, I answer to you. And so I will continue to contact you and share my information, get ideas, glean ideas from you, and we will move forward as much as we can. Hearing comment?
It may not make a lot of sense, but as we stand, my name's Sherry Leonard, I live in Muscatine, South Side. As we stood here and did the Pledge of Allegiance, I have to wonder, as you think about the words, are we standing united? Really? Why are we so divided? We all have a position here, we're all citizens. We're here to serve our community. We care about our people that live here. If we live divided, how is the rest of our town gonna be united? That's a fact. You know, we have so many problems here already. Should we still continue to have problems when we can't be respectful of other people? That's pretty much what I have to say. I feel really upset about all this. I just think it's ridiculous. I mean, there's what, you're the only lady sitting here, which I'm not, you know, discrimination, but you're one woman sitting amongst all the men. They're making all your decisions for you. I respect men as well as women, but I feel disrespect in this community. My son, who lived here, graduated here, went to school, went to college, he will never come back to this town. He is so upset with the town. I am very frustrated. He could have went to work for Stanley Consultants, and he said, I will never come back to Muscatine, Iowa as long as I live, Mom. And he's done very well, and you know, the town did us well when we lived here. We were not rich people, but we worked hard. And I think it's great that our mayor has enough respect to respect everyone in this room and the whole community. She took on a big job, and I'm very grateful for that she is concerned about how we feel. I fought hard for a lot of things in this town, and I'm gonna continue to fight for the rights for the people to live here. And I think it's very frustrating. It hurts my feelings how the different people that live here came here have been disrespected. All the way from the Hispanics to the new people coming in. You know, I listened to a gentleman and his wife who came here to take care of his wife or his mother-in-law. He asked for a sign, handicap. His mother-in-law's 92, and no one wanted to listen to him. You know, and he talked about how him and his wife lived here 40 years ago. Or he did, she did, Naomi Jackson. She had a windshield busted at the Y. Disrespect. Why? She goes to Walmart, her and her husband, they got a gun pulled on them. Is that how we treat our diversified communications here with our people? I am so upset. They don't have these kind of problems in Columbus Junction, Iowa, and they got a diversified community. I pray for everyone in this room, in this whole community, that we can learn to get along. Because this is just ridiculous. When you have 2 shootings here, my son, Mom, are you crazy? Why you want to stay there? I said, I don't know, I pay about $2,000 in the lower end of South End. Why would I want to stay here? I'm here to fight the fight and stand up for everyone who lives here because I care about the people. I thank you, and I'm sorry.
Thank you. We appreciate your comments. Hearing no further discussion.
I'd like to say a few comments. So, I'm new here as well too, okay? I've been here for 6 months now on the council. And I've learned a tremendous amount from this community and this council group. I truly, I've seen the challenges that the mayor has brought, the council has tried to work through. I truly believe that what we're doing here in regards to having one person make all the appointments, making a quorum of 2 to 3 council members and a commission member is gonna help us to be able to pick the best candidate for every group. I don't believe that one person knows who's the best for the airport. I don't believe that the one person knows who's the best for the Power and Water Board. I've gotten a chance to see some of these commissions. I've got a chance to talk to some of them. And I truly believe that 2 to 3 people can make a better interview process than one person. I'm not in agreement of saying that this change fixes everything, but I truly believe it is a step in the right direction. If we sit there and said, hey, you know what, 6 months down the road or a year down the road, we could reevaluate and say if we needed to change. But right now, I believe this is the right direction that we're going in. I've sat there and had many phone calls. You know, I hear these conversations about working together, cooperation. That is exactly what we're doing. We are not trying to sit here and say, oh, we're going to let one person say they're going to make the decision, and that's the way it's supposed to be. I don't agree with that. I truly believe that we are working together. Having 2 council members and 1 commission member make the decisions to help, and the mayor, they're not sitting here saying we're stripping the power. We're still inclusively allowing that mayor and council members to be included to allow us to get the best member. With the amount of growth that we're doing in this city, with the corridor project, the hotel, so many different changes that we're trying to help in our community, I want the best member for every commission and every board to be here. I don't want to sit here and say, well, we're just going to have one member sit here and say they're going to make those decisions and not allow us to still. We're not taking the power away. She's still going to be. It's not even going to affect this one. This is for something that we're trying to do for the further mayors on. Those changes are what we're trying to do. We're trying to make a change for the future. And not everyone always accepts change. Not everybody's going to sit here and like it, but maybe 6 months or 5 years down the road, they're going to look back and say, yeah, that was actually a good decision. Change is not always well accepted, but change is also good. That's all I have.
One more comment, Mayor. In fact, before this year, that's really what the way it worked. It was the existing boards, the administrator and the mayor working together. It wasn't by ordinance or code or rules or anything else, but that's the way it worked. And I agree with Santos that I think with a little bit larger group that we will do better. That's it.
Dan.
Dan Clark, 1221 Mulberry. I will address this briefly. I don't understand why this needs to be approached in such a precipitous manner. it is under fraught circumstances. It may well be a good proposal, but there are many things that you do on an experimental basis. You say, let's do a pilot program, let's try it out for a few months and revisit it, whatever. There's nothing that stops you from now agreeing, and I mean really agreeing, through your council rules or something not as awesome as a code change. You could agree for the rest of the year or whatever to work at a nominating committee process on a voluntary basis, and then revisit all of this proposed language change. You just don't need to rush into it. If I had my way, you would change a completely different piece of code. You would change that one little line that said, and it blew my mind when I saw this, because I was arguing online with people who were saying, but the mayor is the CEO of the city, and I was trying to explain about the role of the city administrator. They said, look it up. So I went to the code. There it is. In the description of the mayor's duties, the very first line says, the mayor is the chief executive officer of the city. Yes, her powers are carried out by the city administrator, most of them. Why don't you just change the one line in the code? Because that doesn't fit.
It's hard to believe, Dan, that it's not retaliatory. Even, I mean, all of the talk about working together, I mean, I'm a big proponent of that. As I said, I've reached out to people, I've made calls, I've made opportunities and tried to give and create opportunities for us to work together. If it wasn't retaliatory, I don't understand why then put in, add the only other thing that the mayor does, which is hiring and removal process for police and fire chief. What does that have to do with any of the conversation? If it wasn't a way to just completely take the power away from the mayor's office.
Again, we're not removing, we are only amending to still include you in the group of that nominating
Not with
committee.
police and fire chief. It's completely removing that.
Not to the extent that you could not hire or remove the police or fire chief without council approval. So that part of it will not change. All the hiring and firing of actually boils down to the council, whether the council does it directly or approves or denies appointments, or does the hiring and firing through the city administrator. But the council is the final authority on all the actions of the city. And so there's no change there, because you can hire and fire, but you can't without council approval. So we're not taking that authority away from you, because
Yes, Alan, you're taking that authority from the mayor's office and giving it to the city administrator. With the mayor, the council still had to approve. With the city administrator, the council has to approve. But you are moving it from the mayor to the city administrator with this action.
we're not removing the approval process. We're only
You're moving who appoints.
who presents the name. So
Yes.
what's the big deal there?
Well, you're moving it from the mayor to the city administrator.
But the net effect is we still have to approve, whether it's you approve it or nominate, or the city administrator nominates. It all boils down to whether the council is going to approve or deny.
Any other discussion?
On the fire chief and police chief, being appointed by any mayor is almost a vestige of the spoil system that goes back to Harding and God knows whom. These should be professionally appointed people. The police chief and the fire chief now are in a really difficult situation. They don't know who's going to be mayor in 2 years, and it's tough for them possibly to be as tough with their force as they would like to be, because in a year and a half they might be back down in the ranks. And that's an unfair burden to put on them. And it should be professional. I mean, they report to Greg now. Let the choice be a professional one and not a political one based on, I knew his uncle when he was a paper boy kind of stuff. Those are my thoughts on the police chief and fire chief. And I concur with everybody else who's spoken.
Any other comments? Hearing none. Tom, how do you vote?
Aye.
Alan?
Recognizing this, the timing may appear not so good, I will vote yes.
Bob?
No.
Santos?
Aye.
Scott?
Aye.
Phil?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
The ordinance, the second reading of the ordinance is approved with 6 ayes and 1 nay. Moving on to 11B. Presented for City Council's consideration is the final reading of an ordinance amending the zoning ordinance for property located at 1409 Wisconsin Street, which is formerly Garfield School. The property owners are requesting that 4.41 acres on the eastern end of the parcel containing the former school building be rezoned to S2 institutional office. Is there a motion to adopt the ordinance on final reading and to direct for its publication as required by law?
So moved, Your Honor.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none. Tom, how do you vote?
Aye.
Alan?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Santos?
Aye.
Scott?
Aye.
Phil?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
The ordinance is adopted with all ayes. 11C, presented for City Council's consideration is a resolution setting a public hearing on a request to vacate certain utility easements. The property owner of lots 6 and 7 of the River Bend 5th Edition, 3500 Diana Queen Drive, has submitted an easement vacation plat that vacates a 10-foot wide utility easement composed of 2 adjoining 5-foot utility easements located on these 2 lots. The applicant plans to combine these 2 lots and construct an elder group home. Prior to any formal action by City Council, a public hearing is required. This hearing will take place on Thursday, August 18th at 7 p.m. Is there a motion to adopt the resolution as submitted?
So
So
moved.
moved.
Thank you, Bob.
I'll take a second.
Alan seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. Mike, how do you vote?
Aye.
Phil?
Aye.
Scott?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
Alan?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Santos? The resolution is adopted with all ayes. 11D. Presented for City Council's consideration is a request to amend the City Council rules. City Council Rule, Section 1.2, pertaining to special meetings, states the city code reference is 1-6-6. It is necessary to amend the rules to correct the city code reference to 1-9-5. Is there a motion to approve the request as submitted?
So moved, Your Honor.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? The request is approved with all ayes. Presented for City Council's consideration is a request to approve a pilot sidewalk poetry program. Staff is requesting approval of the Muscatine County Arts Council pilot program to install stamped poetry in new or replacement sidewalks under the direction of the Public Works Department as part of the annual sidewalk construction projects throughout the community. Is there a motion to approve the request as submitted?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? Dave, do you have something for us?
I got like 4 or 5 slides. I want to give you an idea of what this is. Also, I'm having trouble getting this little widget working. There we go. What was brought forth to me last year, maybe a little more than a year ago, from the Muscatine County Arts Council, was this concept of putting etchings of approved poetry in our sidewalks as we rebuild them or put new ones in. And we do that as an annual process anyway. Some of it is done also by property owners. that have their sidewalks out front, they're responsible for it. So the Arts Council put together a poetry contest, of which was made up of a small board of artists, as well as, if I'm not mistaken, some laureates as well. The judge was a laureate, and this is what we had come up with. There. That's the last one. I don't want that one. Isn't it these arrows, Andrew? Is it the arrows? Huh.
You never learned how to do that, Andrew.
Well, it'd work a lot better if it was on a Mac.
Get up there, Mike, you can help them out.
Oh, those arrows, yeah. Wrong set of arrows. This gives you, we have set up for you right up front here, a couple, maybe 4 of the 5 poems that won this year. That what they look like is in reverse. You can see the letters. We place them on the wet concrete, and they end up etching out the poem. And it gives you some set. The other thing is these are just stamped in by hand, feet, technically. You set them down on the wet concrete and you stand on them, and that's what primarily is the process. And it's as simple as that. Another option that we have is marking where these are, putting them on a web page on our website, and showing where they are in town. Now, the CVB, which is the chamber, the CVB, as well as the Art Council, would primarily be benefiting from bringing people and tourists from out of town into town. If I put Pokemon on these things, we would probably have a lot of people, but Pokemon Go. But the point is, the idea is that it's a low-cost way, if not a no-cost way, of attracting visitors here from outside of town. And when you leave the site, that's pretty much what it looks like. After a few years, the etchings start to really be defined, you know, from dust and wear and things like that, and it really gives you a nice structure to the poem. In general, that's what I've got for you tonight on that. And I just wanted to show you what the program kind of is in concept. And we have had this reviewed by Public Works. We've done some research there's only a handful of communities across the country that are doing this right now. Muscatine would be among a very small few, but the reviews are phenomenal. If you look at St. Paul or Boston, Cambridge actually, and a couple of other ones. Northfield, I think Minnesota is the nearest one. Any questions?
Thank you, Dave. Does
Yeah.
anybody questions?
I do.
Go ahead.
So the poems, how did you say they were chosen?
The Muscatine County Arts Council decided to hold a contest earlier this year, and they got a series of applications in different poems. With the poems, they submitted them and had them judged by a small panel, and the final judge was this laureate artist that we talked about. I don't know the name, so I wished I did.
So were they kids, or were they adults, or were they?
As far as who submitted the...
Yes.
Yeah.
And the final judge was Mary Swan. She's the Iowa Poet Laureate. She was the final judge. She was completely objective.
And when we do the stamping, if we approve this, do we stamp the year that we did this?
Hadn't thought of that.
Good idea.
Pardon me? Yeah, we hadn't thought about that, and I don't think it's part of the stamps either.
I guess what I was also thinking about is if it was whoever actually wrote the poem have their name, maybe their age if they wanted it, and then the stamp of the year it kind of goes in insane, if they were agreed to it. But it would, if a 12-year-old wrote that, or something to that, I think that would be pretty unique and kind of nice. You put that in 19.
It's not out of the question for future years. These years are going to be set in stone.
Set in stone, yeah.
Oh, they're already made.
Look,
Yeah, that's what I tried telling you. They're right up there.
Oh, my bad.
Maybe the next round of
Okay, sorry,
you can
Andrew.
accumulate quite a few.
No, that's fine. I was just thinking about that.
But you could still have your idea, and it would be just posted somewhere near the.
I mean, if it really works, or we change
Fresh.
it out, and we do another one, and it's in 2020 or
You
something.
can get a stick and write it in.
Yeah, you can get a stick.
I'm sure somebody will add their
How
name
many
on it
total,
too.
Dave?
Pardon me?
How many total are there?
There's 5 this year.
Okay.
I don't know how often they're planning on running the contest, but we could say we'll add a date, at least a year on it. And so we hadn't
I remember when you brought that to us a while back about the poems and whatnot, but I don't remember if it was kids or if it was adults, and if it's open to everyone.
We don't
that's
know
fine, too.
who they were, only the judge
fine.
panel.
Okay, thank you.
We were more concerned about the etchings not being too deep to create a trip hazard or a climate issue where it might crack if it full of water. So these are not even close.
I'm more worried about the salt. As long as the salt doesn't eat to it, that's fine. It's a little bit of salt we use here.
It's okay, we're used to salt.
Any other comments or questions?
My issue was, in seeing this, was ADA and tripping hazards, and I guess I would.
Public Works has reviewed it, and Brian, there's Brian. Brian, and it's
guess
my understanding
if there was
that
a
it meets
panel-
ADA requirements.
That
It's
there
my
are no.
understanding that it meets ADA requirements. Right.
Okay. I guess if trail areas, I mean, I could see it being out at
Well, what you're asking for
certain
is
areas, but when it's right downtown, we had issues when we did this Third Street street program, and they did all that colored concrete and so forth. We had residents complaining about the width of the marking, but between the striking of joints between the concrete panels, that it was too wide, and I was tripping, and and you get a whole bunch of letters and so forth. I can't imagine that that's going to be easily passable with somebody in a walker or with canes.
If these are 5 only, worst case is, I mean, if it's something that's that bad, we can take this out.
Well, I know,
sure,
yeah.
Sure, it's not something that's.
That's the intent, is just to simply do a pilot program with this year's sidewalk program, put one at each end, and
The depth of the grooves of those.
and
what those letters
and
doesn't
track
look
it,
that
monitor it, see if it works. And if there's concerns, we could always modify or change the program.
I got the city engineer here, Jim Edgemont, and you well know. And he helped review this.
Mayor, Council, I don't have a better thing than that picture right there. There's 2 things I want you to look at on there in relation, is look at the 5-foot joints that are there compared to the impression of the text. The text is way less. The other thing that is a very good idea that we will attempt to accommodate with these is that on the top you can see that there's always a portion of that sidewalk that won't have text on it. Let's just say a skateboarder or something. There'll always be an option of clear concrete to go by that poem. And that might mean some of those we might have to orient 90 degrees to how you walk. But I don't know that makes any difference with poetry. If you're interested, you're going to stop and read it anyhow. So those are the 2 things that kind of took care of my concerns about, A, tripping hazards, and B, if it was going to be anything else. I don't see this as any worse than a joint in the concrete. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thanks, Jim. Joel?
Joel Krausar, 3413 Baton Rouge Road. I am speaking solely as a citizen here, not as the director of the Voice of Muscatine newspapers. This is not the position of my publication. I am an avid art supporter in town, and this is the sort of thing that, as someone who's moved my family back here, I'm excited about a project like this as someone who can walk around with our kids and show them. My art nerd friends who live around the Midwest will come to Muscatine to see things like this. I know that may just be 10 people, but that's still 10 people that I'll take out to dinner in town as they're staying in my basement or if they're staying in hotels. So as an art supporter in this community, I would love to see this pilot program work and hopefully grow to the graphic that Mr. Govan showed, where we could geocache it. It could be something you could expand upon, and it's just another thing to put in the feather of our cap at Muscatine. So hopefully pilot programs with these sorts of artistic initiatives will continue to move forward in the council's eyes. So thank you.
Thank you, Joel. Dave, did you have something to add?
I have one more thing to add. We did come up with some protocols as to how many we're going to put in any one particular area. So we're not.
You okay, Bob?
Bob?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Sorry.
He's saying you're cuckoo.
But
Editorial
anyway,
comments.
we did set some internal protocols as to not overkilling an area, so there's probably no more than a couple per block and things like that. But it's going to become much more prevalent when we start doing more of the sidewalk consistency kind of design downtown, Second and Mississippi Drive and those types of things that all play a role into that kind of thinking. And we may have more poems for that. That's if you guys approve this as a pilot project.
Who's going to be the final approval of the poem?
The poet laureate.
I'll let you guys.
She was for this end of this year. She was the final judge. They were all given to her blindly.
That's fine.
I am a poet laureate, sorry.
So
Thank you.
We get to see those poems, I'm sure.
You want them all like in a consolidated, so you
I
can
just
read
like to,
them?
I mean,
You want to read them forward, not
I think it would
backwards?
be nice.
Sounds
Okay,
like
I'm
a,
sure
sounds
we're
like a
gonna
good
approve it, but I guess-
Facebook post that we could put together.
We just thought this would be a good thing to try, if we'll figure it out and get experience with it, and then we're in a better position to do it again if it works out.
Not that we're all critics, but it would be nice before we actually formally approve this, we actually saw what the poems were, I think.
So do you want to table this till next time?
You're going to put this in concrete, which lasts quite a long time. It would be nice that at least council put their finger on it, so to speak. Not that I want to put my handprint concrete,
I used to when I was a kid.
you might.
You can approve this with contingencies, I don't care.
Yeah, I guess I would just as soon approve it, but very shortly I want to see the poems.
I see no reason not getting that to you by tomorrow.
And if there's an issue, then council can bring it up at the next meeting and
Fair enough.
stop it. But I don't see any reason that we're going to stop it, but
Why don't I just get one together that has all the poems on it?
that'd be great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. I appreciate you thinking out of the box on a project like this. It's very nice. And the Arts Council.
Just one item, if you would. We're going to incorporate this into the sidewalk program, so in a very short period of time, after you guys have gotten these poems, that sidewalk program comes back to you guys for approval, so you would have the opportunity at that point in time to express your views, yea or nay, just to...
So you're not stamping concrete Monday?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Jim.
Tomorrow, yeah, what I figured.
As I recall in the supporting documents, the local landowner has the option whether to want his particular walk stamped or not.
The discussion that staff had earlier this week was that if you're replacing a section of concrete in front of somebody's home and they chose not to have it, that we would simply not place it in front of the home. The goal would be to place it at the beginning and the end of each new stretch of a block of sidewalk early on, but that was in regards to longer sections where there may be replacement of sidewalk. So, which I don't think we have any, Andrew, we don't have any replacements that we're doing as part of this next phase. So.
Okay.
Hearing no other discussion, all in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? The request is approved with all ayes. 11F, presented for City Council's consideration, is a request to approve deferred maintenance repairs for city facilities. Public Works staff has compiled a list of deferred maintenance items for many of the city-owned facilities in need of repair. Quotes have been received for all of the listed work, and the lowest bid prices are those recommended for approval. The total cost is $317,333.53. There is $344,928.79 budgeted for this work. Is there a motion to approve the request as submitted?
So moved.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? The request is approved with all ayes. 11G, presented for City Council's consideration, is a request to approve the proposal for surveying services for repairs to the Mississippi River levee. Proposals were solicited from 2 engineering firms, with Martin and Whitaker responding with a proposal of $9,000. Because this defect was not known prior to the budgeting process, this expense is not included in the current budget. Therefore, plans are to survey and design the solution to the problem for inclusion in next fiscal year's budget. Staff is requesting approval of this proposal in an amount not to exceed $9,000. Is there a motion to approve the request as submitted?
So moved, Your Honor.
Thank you, Scott. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Is there any reason we shouldn't should postpone this, or shouldn't postpone this work? I mean, we don't do it, and then all of a sudden there's a flood, and now, oh, yeah, we should have done that.
Mayor, Council, as I was hearing that read, that was my immediate cringe, was that sounds like there's something really wrong with the levee. So let me say to everybody here and anybody that wants to listen to it, this is not a critical item that somehow when the river levels go up that the levee is going to fail. It is purely and simply about a 400-foot long section of the levee on the river side where the toe, instead of it coming down at a nice slope like this, it's come down and that toe has started to round off, has started to erode away. And the Corps has noted it and asked us to take care of it within the next couple of years. So the idea is we really don't know what it's going to take to do that repair. We really don't have any idea what the volume of riprap or anything else out there is because of the river that's there. So all we need is some money to do the survey now so that we can put a quick little design together. We can then run that design through the Corps, make sure the Corps blesses it. We can get all those ducks in order so that we can get it submitted for a budget request for next fiscal year.
Jim, how was it discovered?
The Corps does inspections of the levee every 2 years. And it was noted more than a couple years ago. So it's just something that we need to be proactive with and take care of. Thank you.
Jim? Hearing no further discussion, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed?
Aye.
Opposed? Request is approved with all ayes. Last item on the agenda. At this time, discussion will take place concerning a potential tax abatement program and areas. Dave, Greg?
So we've had some brief conversations over the past year and some additional information provided in packets. And as you're well aware, we have a housing tax abatement program, and that housing tax abatement program is going very well. My recollection is that we've had 16 abatement applications and 3 for improvements in those tax abatements. So the program is working. We also have historically had an industrial property tax abatement program in Muscatine, and we've had other commercial urban revitalization areas and programs. Progress Park and the downtown come to mind, and we've had a few tax abatement programs or tax abatement applications over the history of those programs, which have, 2 of which have now expired. What we're simply looking to do, and some of the discussion has come up with in regards to recent tax increment financing programs that have come forward. So what we're looking to do is simply bring back to council a basic commercial tax abatement program, and really look to incent 2 specific areas along Grandview and Park Avenue. Of course, in 2019, we have funding for Grandview Avenue improvements coming forward. We have a real opportunity on Grandview Avenue to encourage, I guess, additional improvements beyond the public infrastructure that we're looking to bring forward. And under state code, there are two programs or 2 schedules that are allowed, and those are noted in your packet. There's a 10-year declining schedule and a 3-year 100% schedule. There is a 15% minimum increase in valuation before an improvement can be considered for tax abatement within Muscatine. And really just wanted to bring a short summary, 2-page summary back to council with some of the information that we've had in place, that's been ongoing. The housing is working. We've talked about marketing our programs, whether that be a sign like the city of Wilton does, and we've also talked about improving our website as well in regards to all of our economic development incentives. But the tax abatement program is working for our housing program, and we think having a basic program for tax abatement for commercial properties to encourage small business improvements as well as new business along a couple key areas in the community would be a valuable program for Muscatine, for residents and for new businesses looking to locate along those areas. Now, those 2 schedules that are identified in the packet are the maximum allowed by state code. The city council could choose to do something less than those abatement schedules that are noted in the packet as well. I've outlined, or we've outlined, the current housing tax abatement program that we have in place as well. It's a new construction, blighted, historic. The industrial property tax abatement program is listed there as well. That schedule is by state code. Our previous Progress Park and downtown programs mimicked the schedules that you have noted on page 2 of the packet. In your packet, you also have a number of additional resources as well. The 2 proposed areas that we're looking at that council can review and certainly comment on, and a number of resources from some other community as well as links to websites so you can see what some other communities are doing throughout the state with tax abatement. A number of communities are finding our neighbor to the south, Burlington, not neighbor, but hour away, has a successful tax abatement program in place and is seeing a number of commercial developments throughout the community. So this is something that we're looking forward to bringing forward. However, before going any further, we've had a couple brief discussions with bond counsel, but mainly at the staff level before proceeding and working with our bond counsel to bring forward an urban revitalization plan which would allow for tax abatement, and creating these 2 tax abatement programs. I wanted to come to council and see if there was a consensus to keep moving forward with this program. If there's any questions, comments, or feedback from council as well. I brought it forward tonight, obviously, since we do not have an in-depth session next week, and we've had an opportunity to start putting this information together. So with that, I'm going to keep it short and sweet, and really my intent is to see if council concurs that with staff's recommendation that we move forward and look at abatement to incent small business in these areas. Now, to be clear, this does not, these areas would overlap with our urban renewal areas. It would not prevent the use of TIF in these areas. If an appropriate TIF program does come available, TIF could be considered by City Council. However, you cannot use both tax abatement and TIF, so they would have to choose between the 2 programs. However, in my mind, in these areas, this would simply substitute for our basic program and allow for a similar process as we have currently in place with housing. There would be an application that would come forward. It would be placed on the consent agenda for council approval and forwarded on to the county for processing, exactly like the housing tax abatement program. That's it in a nutshell, and I guess we're certainly happy to answer any questions. I don't know if Dave or Andrew has anything to add to the program, but
Just a quick question,
comments?
Greg. As I look at this, we did it in Progress Park for, it looks like there was a 10-year window. We did it downtown, there was a 10-year window. Is there a sunset date for the industrial property tax abatement program that we currently have in place?
Not for the industrial tax abatement and neither for the housing program, and I couldn't tell you why that was done, but for Progress Park and for downtown, at the time the City Council chose to do a 10-year program for each of those locations. It's not required, but...
And the ones established by state code, there's no sunset?
The statement in the housing tax abatement, if I recall off the top of my head, simply says that the council can end the program essentially at any time, rather than having a date certain in the program.
Okay. Thanks.
Absolutely.
Somewhere in the text here, it talked about being careful or checking with a bond attorney or something about the...
That would be our next step. Our bond council typically prepares our I'm mixing my terms here, urban renewal plan, which is related to tax increment financing, which has to be updated each and every time we do something new with TIF. And they would also be responsible and have in the past created our urban revitalization areas and the tax abatement programs. And John Danos was instrumental in putting together the housing tax abatement program that we have. We worked with Steve and John Danos and staff to put that program together. And really the goal was to encourage folks to build in 7 or 8 different districts within the community, and it's working. And we're glad to see those homes building inside the bypass, adjacent to existing infrastructure where it's appropriate to do so. So we're happy to see a successful program, and we'd like to do the same in these 2 districts.
Well, for the reasons you were initially outlined, I'd be supportive.
I think it's a good way to encourage, taking a long-term approach to encourage investment within the city. You know, you may lose the taxes in the first few years, but, you know, looking out 10, 15, 20 years, you've nothing but gain by making the encouragement and the investments within the community. And these tax abatements are only on the increased value for the work, is that correct?
Correct. There has to be a minimum 15% for commercial tax abatement.
We had some conversation about vacant lots in residential areas that may not be big enough to comply with the code for constructing new things, and we were going to make some allowances for some of those. Do I remember that correctly?
My understanding, I recall, summarize Andrew, is that there are currently mechanisms that we can address some of those small lots, but then the new zoning ordinance will go further and specifically provide for mechanisms to do so.
We have a regular program of informing the realtors that, hey guys, remember this is here, and that we can make, we've got wiggle room on existing vacant lots.
Not necessarily on combining lots, but what we really want to do is market these abatement programs and economic development, not only the abatement programs, but all of our economic development programs. And we've talked about how we can improve our website and you know, perhaps even putting up a sign like Wilton does as well. Absolutely. So yes, we're looking at all of those opportunities. We want to make sure that we're marketing those opportunities and getting the word out to as many people as we can. As Mr. DeBeat said, I think we've made huge strides in our communications efforts, whether that be digital and social media or paper or blog or whatever medium you might see out there. We try and get it out there to folks.
The Board of Realtors will probably be happy to give you their email list.
And certainly encourage getting the information directly to those folks is very important.
This is a little bit you opened the door, so I'm going to ask this question. Has there been any progress or changes in the two Brook Street lots that we figured had a drainage issue, and we were wondering whether, they were actually suitable for building?
Do you know if we've made any progress on those?
I think it was Brook Street.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. 2 vacant lots that had a runoff problem. Oh, welcome.
Steve Boca.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
67
it's up here.
Street South. Those properties are on a map that I have in my possession now of surplus city property that may be marketed in the future. We're currently working on several other ones right now, but those are on the list to take a look at, and we have some that we actually are processing now, but there's some concerns about those we're still trying to pursue.
Thank you.
If there's no objections, our plan is to move forward with bond council and bring back an urban revitalization plan and program for tax abatement in these 2 districts. So I'd encourage you to look through the information in the packet and check out the websites. There's a lot of good information there.
I noticed a couple of the cities have really nice brochures that they can hand
The
out.
city has a very nice brochure. That's certainly something we've already talked about putting together, and taking advantage of several, and there's other communities as well. They've got some great websites. And, rather than reinvent the wheel, we're certainly going to borrow from communities that have good programs and cut and paste.
I like it.
Great, we will
All right.
proceed.
We'll move on to communication from council members. Councilman Spread, do you have anything to add?
Nothing this evening, Your Honor.
Harvey?
Nothing tonight, Your Honor.
Bob, do you have anything? Bob?
Nothing tonight, Your Honor.
Thank you. Santos?
Yeah, I have a few things I'd like to say. This last week, we had the RAGBRAI. I was never involved as much as I think I have been this most recent last weekend, and I was just completely overwhelmed with the amount of city staff, the City Chamber of Commerce. I really want to thank Greg Jenkins for all their work. I talked to several RAGBRAI riders about how great our community was to have so many riders come in, and made many comments that our city was the best city they had ever come into as far as RAGBRAI come in. So I really want to thank the city staff for that, the work that they did, some local companies that did a lot of volunteer work. I want to thank you for that as well too. One other item, I traveled a weekend and a half ago down to Kansas City, and I took some of our kids to a tournament, and I was registering in Kansas City, and this lady tells me when she sees where we're from, Muscatine, she says, "Oh my gosh," she says, "you guys have the best soccer fields that I've ever been to. We travel everywhere from the Midwest, and your city has the best." And so I really want to thank Rich Climbs, the Parks and Rec Department. I felt very proud to say that I come from a small city, and here I am in Kansas City, and they recognize that. And I know that there was a lot of soccer going on down there. So thank you again for the RAGBRAI volunteers, the community, and all the, I'm sure, the shot in the arm we had for the small business that was here as well too for this last week. That's all I have.
Thank you, Santos. Scott?
I have nothing, thank you, Mayor.
Phil?
Nothing at this time, Your Honor.
Councilman Raywald?
Yes, I'm going to echo what Santos has said, that all the volunteers that made this weekend possible are to be thanked, and the Chamber did yeoman's duty, and the city staff, the Parks and Rec, and the police, and Public Works, and I'm sure there were others that worked lots of overtime to get things ready and then knock things down and clean them up. It was really, really well done. And to echo your statement about the quality of our field, this big tournament that was here this big thing that was here all last week, is we have to thank our city engineer for that. He's shaking his head, but that's not true. When they were built, Stanley Consultants had the contract to do the designs, and our city engineer was the project engineer on that when he was at Stanley Consultants. And thank you for doing it right, Jim. Yeah, well, and he said, thanks to the generosity of the donors who, he was able to design it right because they had the money to do it right. Thank you.
Thank you. Staff, anything?
Yes, Your Honor, I'd like to echo the comments that were made tonight and thank the RAGBRAI Committee, the Chamber. A big thank you to city staff and each and every one of the volunteers that made RAGBRAI such a huge success here in Muscatine. We received tons of compliments down on the riverfront on how beautiful Muscatine was and how well put together the program was. It was a busy weekend with RAGBRAI, Soccer Complex, and GRD going on, Great River Days, but it was, I think the consensus was that it was a hugely successful weekend and done very well. I've heard estimates between 15 and upwards of over 20,000 folks coming into Muscatine. I'd also like to thank our residents, some of whom may have been inconvenienced, but events like we had going on this past week are extremely vital to Muscatine, and so I'd like to thank our residents for their patience as well.
Thank you. I'd like to just echo some of the thanks for RAGBRAI and give a special shout out to Janet Morrow. She was the project lead and worked tirelessly for months making this the best RAGBRAI end site that people can remember. So thank you, Janet, and all of the city staff, and especially the volunteers. Next, I'd like to thank Dave Cooney. What I did on Saturday was go with him and with Branching Out Muscatine, and we went to the Arboretum, and I helped him plant, and help I will use very loosely, plant 2 trees in honor of RAGBRAI. So tree number 99 was to honor our veterans, and the 100th tree was to celebrate RAGBRAI. So they're out at the Arboretum. There's very nice placards there marking them. Please take a walk if you can and go out and see the 2 trees. I think it shows the dedication that Mr. Cooney has had for many, many years, planting a tree at every stop along the RAGBRAI route for all of this time. Very good idea. Next, I'd like to give a shout out and thank you to our Congressman Dave Loebsack. Spent a nice afternoon with him talking about the new Jobs Training Act that he's bringing forward and how that can help our businesses and our families in Muscatine as they work to raise themselves out of poverty and get jobs that will sustain their families. On the same note, I would like to share with you, I've been working with the Goodwill and the Helms Career Center, and with Maricela Rada, who has been working on a job fair. We're working on putting this together to bring together employers, to bring together people that need jobs, help them learn skills for interviews, help them learn skills for how to problem solve, how to sell themselves in an interview, and actually give them an opportunity to meet with employers. Several employers are going to be participating. It's going to be held at MCSA on August 26th from 10 to 2. We'd love to have you come out if you have any interest, or if you know someone in your family. And I do have a few flyers. Very good program, and I think it'll be a good event and really connect some people there in need. Next, I'd like to just share a little bit. I am on the commission for Region 9 Transportation along with Jeff Sorensen, one of our county supervisors. And we always are working on an annual transit development plan. They call that TIP all the time, another one of our acronyms. Well, they are looking to the communities that are in Region 9 to get some more information as we develop the transit plan. And so to that end, at Musser Library on Wednesday, August 10th, from 3 to 4, they're asking residents to come so that they can just get some information from you on what kind of transit you use. Do you use the waterways? Do you use the buses? Do you use taxi cabs, so that they can put that into the Region 9 plan? So anybody who can make it out, it'd be great to share some information and make sure that they have enough data to make the determinations. Next, I would like to say that our next Coffee with the Mayor is August 27th, and it's going to be in Councilman Fitzgerald's ward, which is the first ward, and it will be held at Discovery Park at 9 o'clock on August 27th. Please come in that side door, and we'll have some good coffee and conversation. Now we'll be moving into closed session. I would like to hear a motion to enter closed session.
Second.
And a second.
Second.
Alan? Are you good with moving into closed
Yes.
session? Tom?
Aye.
Bob?
Yes.
Santos?
Aye.
Scott?
Aye.
Phil?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
Thank you. We're going to take a 10-minute recess as we prepare to move into closed session.